My wife Lynn has been replaced. I don't know who or what she is now, but the woman I married is gone, and I think she wants to wear my skin. Our life was normal, happy even. 6 years together, 11 months married. Lynn was kind, intelligent, thoughtful, a no-nonsense type, completely averse to anything remotely creepy. She once tried watching The Shining with me and barely made it halfway before turning it off in terror. Pranks? Horror movies? Not her. Never her. That's why what happened next, what is happening, is so profoundly, horrifyingly wrong. It began slowly, 2 months ago. A fleeting glimpse of her peeking around a corner in the hallway. Just her eyes. Then a quick scurry away like a child caught misbehaving. Odd, but I dismissed it as playful. Maybe she was trying to lighten up, to share my love for all things spooky. I called her a weirdo, she laughed, and life went on. Then, 3 nights later, the game changed. I was in the kitchen at 2 a.m., grabbing a drink, when an icy sensation crawled up my spine. I was being watched. I looked down, and there she was, peeking from the other side of the island, on all fours, her face staring up at me, illuminated by the faint kitchen light. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and her mouth stretched into a grotesque Cheshire cat grin. I screamed. Not in irritation, but pure, unadulterated terror. The sound echoed in the silent house. Lynn scuttled backward, hands and feet slapping the tile floor in a disturbing rhythm, disappearing from view. I stood frozen, the jug of orange juice still in my hand, questioning my sanity. Did that just happen? When I finally made it back to our bedroom, Lynn was asleep, or so she pretended. Her breathing was soft, deep. I watched her for what felt like an eternity, half expecting her to spring up, but she didn't. The next morning I confronted her, trying to keep my voice light. She simply frowned, feigning ignorance, then burst into laughter when I pointed to the spot on the floor. "You creep me out sometimes," I said, forcing a smile. Her response sent a shiver down my spine. "You creep me out all the time, so I guess we're even." The peeking became more frequent, more audacious. From behind the couch, then behind the living room curtains. Once, I found her crammed inside her grandmother's old trunk at the foot of our bed, the lid propped just enough for half her face to peer out, grinning like an excited toddler. When I asked why, she simply closed the lid, shutting herself inside. I was disturbed, but I clung to the hope it was a phase, a bizarre game she'd soon abandon. I was wrong. 2 weeks of blessed normalcy passed, and I foolishly thought it was over. We were watching Netflix, and I joked about her spy game ending. Her reply was chilling. Maybe I've just gotten better at it. Paranoia became my constant companion. I started checking every corner, every shadow. The house felt alive with unseen eyes. I felt stupid, crazy, but the feeling persisted. Then, a few days ago, hell truly broke loose. Lynn was at a friend's. I decided to shower. As the water streamed down, that familiar, suffocating feeling of being watched returned. I slowly opened my eyes. Her entire head was stretched into the shower, hair plastered to the curtain, dripping water. Her mouth was open in a terrible grin, eyes wide and red, makeup streaking down her cheeks like black tears. Giddy, deranged, I screamed, pressing myself against the back wall. She didn't move, her smile unwavering. After an eternity, she slowly pulled her head back, and I watched her blurry figure through the steamed plastic as she retreated. The bathroom door slammed shut, rattling the mirror, sending another scream tearing from my throat. I fumbled with the lock, barricading myself in. I paced for an hour, rage battling terror. "What the hell, Lynn? This is getting crazy fucking annoying," I yelled, pounding on the door. Silence. Then a faint moan. "Lynn?" My voice was a tremor. Nothing. Only the drip of the shower. I knelt, peering under the door. No Lynn. Just the hallway, stretching empty. I slowly unlocked the door, my hand shaking, ready to yank it open. Then I heard it again. A moan, louder this time, coming from the closet. My head turned as if in slow motion. Through the slight gap in the closet door, my wife's wide, unblinking eyes met mine. Her mouth was a grotesque, gaping smile. Her body trembled with sheer delight, hands clasped to her chest. A short, raspy moan bubbled from her throat, raw and deep, sending a shiver through my entire being. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I tore open the bathroom door and ran, snatching my keys and phone, bursting out of the house. I heard her shrill laughter pursuing me as I drove away, shivering, coatless, shoeless, still in my boxers. 40 minutes later, safe at my brother Chris's house, I checked my phone. Dozens of texts from Lynn, all feigning concern, asking where I was, why I left. Not a single one acknowledging her monstrous display. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face in that closet. She hadn't left the bathroom. She'd slipped into the closet, slammed the door to fool me. The thought made my skin crawl. The next morning, as I lay on the couch, that familiar feeling washed over me. I was being watched. My eyes drifted. Lynn's face was pressed against the window, staring down at me with that same gaping smile. Drool dribbled down her lips, leaving long streaks on the glass. My heart pounded with anger, not fear. Lynn, are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? Just go home. She didn't move. Her smile only grew, elated. When Chris and Rebecca came downstairs, Lynn was gone, leaving only the sickening streaks on the window. They dismissed it as a dream. And how could I possibly explain? I called Lynn's mother, Mary Ann, a cold, distant woman I'd always avoided. She feigned ignorance about Lynn's mental state, her voice sharp. But then, with a shaky intake of breath, a fleeting moment of vulnerability, "Seek professional help," she urged, her voice laced with urgency before she hung up. Not medical professionals, I realized, but something else, something unspeakable. Chris and Rebecca, though shocked, agreed to come back to the house with me. They still thought it was a prank, maybe for YouTube. I didn't correct them. I just needed to not be alone. This morning, we pulled into the driveway. Lynn's car was gone, but the front door was open slightly. A stench of rot hit us the moment we stepped inside. The house was dark, the curtains drawn tight, like an abandoned tomb. Upstairs, our wedding portrait was smashed. Glass gone, frame crooked. In the bathroom, a lingering scent of my terror. Then the bedroom closet. I opened it. At least a dozen eyeballs, meticulously arranged in pairs, stared back at me from the rug. Some as large as quarters, others tiny as marbles. Animal eyes. Chris gagged, retreating to the hall. "She doesn't need help, Ben," he whispered, his voice trembling. "She needs an exorcist." His words died. I felt it again. Being watched, not by the dead eyes in the closet, but by something else. Something living. I slowly scanned the room. Under the bed, curled on her side, watching us with the excitement of a child on Christmas morning, was my wife. Her hands clasped under her chin, trembling eagerly. Hiccuping sounds escaped her throat. It was unnerving, to say the least. Her wide eyes and huge smile. Everything in me screamed to run, but I fought it back. This was Lynn, my wife. Twisted or not, I had to help her. "Lynn," I said softly, taking a hesitant step forward. She didn't respond, but her head bobbed in two quick, unsettling movements. "Baby, I just want to help, okay? Can you let me do that?" Another step. "I love you, Lynn," I whispered. A tiny moan escaped her wide-open mouth, and her shoulders began to quiver, her eyes growing as large as saucers. I crouched down, and that's when I saw it. Blood. Her hands were covered in it, trembling violently. "Lynn, are you hurt? "You're bleeding?" I asked, my voice shaking. She bobbed her head again, her bloody fingers playing an invisible piano, occasionally smearing crimson on her chin. The smell coming off her was revolting, bile rising in my throat. Her lips were dry, cracked, seeping blood. I knew she wouldn't come out on her own. I scooted closer, reaching out. The excited hiccuping sounds grew louder, her fingers flexing. I saw blood oozing between them. "Oh my God, Lynn, you're bleeding," my voice breaking. Instinctively, I reached for her hand, but before I could touch her, her hand darted out. A sharp pain shot through my arm, and I fell back, clutching my bleeding arm. I looked up to see her grinning madly, clutching a large shard of glass. "You all right in there?" Chris's voice, trembling, came from behind me. I nodded, then looked back at Lynn. Her focus had shifted. Her smile was gone, replaced by a snarl as she glared past me, at Chris, like a predator spotting prey. I scrambled to my feet, backing away. "Are you bleeding?" Chris asked, his voice now a terrified whisper. The words barely left his mouth when Lynn erupted from under the bed, glass shards still in hand, and started scooting fast toward us. "Chris, run, go," I yelled. He was frozen, staring at the horror that was my wife. My back hit him. He was still at the top of the stairs. Lynn was fully out from under the bed, standing in the doorway, face twisted in rage, body tense, blood streaming. "Jesus, Lynn," Chris stammered. You, playing hide and seek?" I pushed him towards the stairs. "Move your ass, Chris," I growled. Lynn's head bobbed in fast, sharp motions, and then she began to grin, stretching her mouth impossibly wide, her chin almost touching her chest. Chris muttered a prayer and bolted down the stairs. I stood at the top, torn between the woman I loved and the instinct for self-preservation. "I only want to help," I choked out, tears blurring my vision. Her eyes locked on me as she slowly raised the glass shard. Then she sprinted. My body took over. I flew down the stairs, 2 or 3 at a time, bursting through the front door. I felt her arms wrap around my neck, her open mouth next to my ear, those terrible hiccuping sounds deafening. I shook her off, knocking her to the floor, feeling a searing pain in my back as she fell. I tore to my car. Chris was in the yard, on the phone with the police. I jumped in, and he followed, still on 911. I watched the rearview mirror, expecting to see her running after us, but she never appeared. At the ER, I got 11 stitches in my arm, 3 on my back. The police searched the house. Lynn was gone. They told me to stay with family, get a restraining order, but I knew it wouldn't matter. I dropped Chris off and drove an hour away to a motel, desperate for distance. I hoped the police would find her, get her help. But 40 minutes ago, a text came from an unknown number. 3 words. "I found you." And a picture. It was dark and grainy, but there was no mistaking it. Lynn's eye staring out from the photo. I've been typing ever since. I don't know what to do. I'm alone, terrified, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm still being watched.